Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. Can you believe it is Friday, December 29th? This is going to be our last live Crime Talk of the year, and then we're going to be in 2024. Can you believe it? How fast has it gone? All right, we have a lot to talk about today. First, Gypsy Rose Blanchard on her first date. Apparently her husband's going to get her all gussied up and go on her first real date. So we're going to talk about that. Obviously, what would the end of year show be without kind of a top list of cases that we talked about throughout the year? And just when you think things are getting quiet over the holidays, guess what? There's a woman here in Colorado that is wanted by the FBI for killing of her 2 children. She said it was a burglary. Well, it turns out maybe it wasn't just a burglary, and now they need to find her. A guy in Kentucky, if you can believe this craziness, the police respond to a domestic dispute. Can't find the woman. Where could she possibly be? Well, we'll tell you about that. And then obviously we have our dumb criminal of the day. So yes, we are going live for those of the Crime Talk aficionado family out there. We don't usually do lives during the day. We usually do our Tuesday night live, but hey, we don't have any court. So we're taking advantage of the opportunity to go live and be able to talk about these cases in a little more in-depth detail than what we would possibly do with our just general show, which is what we usually put up every day, Monday through Friday. And so we're giving it a shot here to see how things are going to work out. So obviously the last couple of days, the big story out there that's been trending, so to speak, was the Gypsy Rose Blanchard. She was getting released from prison. She got released the day after Christmas, and her husband picked her up. He is a special education teacher down in Louisiana. His name is Ryan Anderson. Apparently they met while they were in custody. Like I said, what would a prison sentence be without a little jailhouse romance? I mean, who doesn't get hitched when they go to prison these days? I think there's apps for that now. So, and on top of that, you got to get the movie deal. Most states have a Slayer statute, but like anything, you can usually get around that some way. And obviously, Gypsy was clearly abused, and we talked about that in great detail yesterday. But you can't go around killing people, or asking people. In this particular case, Gypsy Blanchard asked her then boyfriend, Nick Godejohn, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, to kill her mom. So like I said, I get it. Abuse. I mean, let's face it. Aren't there a lot of people, if you could, you would, but you can't because that's wrong. She got a good deal. 10 years for conspiring to kill somebody, take it from a criminal defense attorney. That's a pretty good deal, because most of the time the people that conspire get the same punishment as the people that actually did it, because they're both responsible under the law. And whether it's a conspiracy theory, we talked about this before, an agreement between 2 or more people to commit an illegal act, that is a conspiracy. You're in for a penny, you're in for a pound when it comes to that. And then you have the complicity theory. Complicity is a legal theory. It's not a charge, but it is a legal theory whereby if you aid, encourage, or assist somebody to go do something, right? Somebody thinks, oh, maybe I'm going to go rob a bank. You should rob a bank. That'd be a great idea. Here's a mask. I'm going to pull the car around. Help you out. Just get you going. Good luck. Go, 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 go. Complicity. You can be charged just like you had done it yourself. So old Gypsy got out of custody. And of course, you've been in custody for the last 8 years of your 10-year sentence. What do? You got to go shopping. So we got the picture up there of old Gypsy out there doing a little bit of shopping with her husband, Mr. Anderson. And, like I said, we wish them well. And according to her husband, they were going to go out for their first date, first time they've been together. But apparently they developed a really strong bond while they are in custody, or while she was in custody. So, love, you just never know where you're going to find it, ladies and gentlemen. And, if you haven't found your soulmate, maybe you're not looking in the right place. But she's out. And like I said yesterday, we wish her well. It's interesting, some of the comments. Some people are like, she shouldn't have served any prison time. Other people are of the mindset that she should have gone to prison for the rest of her life. And I think legally, she clearly could have been, based upon the facts that came out. But the prosecutors in this particular case listened to the mitigation. And they said, hey, we understand your mom, Dee Dee, not a good person, not a good human being. But we can't allow people to go around killing people who are not good human beings. If that were the case, most of us probably wouldn't be here, or people we know wouldn't be here if that was justified under the law. So obviously we cannot do that. And don't forget, while you're in prison, you got to be working on your movie deal, or in this case, a series that's going to appear on Lifetime, because they have to be able to explain what happened to Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And it's going to take at least 6 hours of access to her, and her show is going to be called The Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and it's January 5th. We're not promoting that, but we're proud. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to see what's different. Is she sincere in her remorse for having the involvement in the demise of her mother? Or was it just a ploy to get out early on parole and tell the parole officers, parole board, what they all want to hear? So, let me know in the comments. Like we've mentioned this before, I am looking at comments as we go through here. Sometimes I see them, sometimes I don't. And, but if they are highlighted, if you're a member, they get highlighted. And if you do super chats, we don't beg for super chats, but we'll answer all of the super chats that anybody wants to put out there as well. Watching from Clemson and listen versus Kentucky. All right. Well, thanks. Oh, we got John from the Netherlands as well. I know this wasn't the Netherlands, but watched the show the last couple of nights with the lovely Miss Kristen. It's called The Serpent, about this guy back in the 70s that was killing people. He was already a criminal, kind of went to Asia, then started killing tourists from all over the world, drugging them up, stealing them, killing them, and enlisted. I highly recommend it. I highly, highly recommend it. It was a good series. It's like 8 hours, but I stayed up way too late the other night because I couldn't stop. I wanted to see what happened. And then I got to finish it last night as well. So great, great story. I won't ruin the ending for you, but it shows you a lot of what we talk about, the 12 undeniable truths of life from a criminal defense attorney. And maybe we'll go through that as well today, just as the show wraps up for the year. Now, I know Frank has been working on something special for everybody, and it'll be coming Saturday, I think, Frank? Saturday. Yes. I mean, it's one of the things that people, they either love it or they hate it. It's The Dumb Criminal. Can you imagine all the shows we've done throughout the years? We've had a dumb criminal almost from the beginning. There's so many dumb criminals, but we're going to just do a year cap from this year. One of these days, we have to narrow it down. We need to come up with a way where we can have people vote on a dumb criminal and really, truly crown somebody. Remember, we used to send them coffee mugs Never got one sent back, but I never got a thank you note either. So after a while, we send them the CrimeTalk mug, and they wouldn't wouldn't even be appreciative of it. We were crowning them a dumb criminal of the week. We had the weekly contestants. I don't know. Let me know what you like, ladies and gentlemen. It's the first of the year coming up, and do you do a reset? Do we redo the set? Do we keep it the way it is? What do you like? What don't you like? Let me know. I mean, I got thick skin. You can tell me, hey, Scott, replace the host. You suck. It wouldn't be the first time that's happened, right? I get people telling me all the time that's not the case, right? So, I mean, like I said, what would the year-end show be without kind of a list of the big cases throughout the year? Maybe let me know if we've missed one. Obviously, I think the big one is the Brian Kohberger case, right? I mean, that case started November of 2022, but we've been covering it 2023, the arrest of Brian Kohberger, the pretrial motions, the motion to dismiss. We're going to have a trial date. We're not going to have a trial date. We brought you the information yesterday in the video showing the house there in Idaho being destroyed, where the victims, Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Zana Chernobyl, and Ethan Chapin, all lost their lives. Now, obviously, that is we have to give Brian Kohberger the presumption of innocence, which he's entitled to. And as a criminal defense attorney, I truly believe in that presumption of innocence. Got to give him the due process of law. But I think that's one of the, obviously, the big cases of the year. It's going to continue to be a big case for next year. And, at least we know it's going to be, we're going to be able to view it. Obviously, the other case out of Idaho, I don't know what is Idaho. Idaho's only Colorado that had, some of these cases for a while. It seemed like everybody, if you were a woman in Colorado, your spouse was going to kill you. And you had to wonder, like, what the heck is going on here? Is there something in the water? Don't know. But then obviously we have the Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell. Lori Vallow, big story of the year, convicted on all counts in Idaho. But it wasn't a simple conviction, right? The prosecution made it a little more difficult than it had to be. Huge issues relating to the competency of Lori Vallow. I think some legitimate appellate issues for Lori Vallow, particularly as it relates to the speedy trial and the 404B evidence that the judge allowed in. Now, obviously, she's been found guilty. I think she is guilty. Those are her children. And then obviously the, ex-wife of Chad Daybell, Tammy Daybell, but the reality of it, those were her children. And she did everything completely opposite of what any mother does, which is protect your children. She did the complete opposite of that. And ultimately, whether it was her brother or Chad or, as the jury found, a conspiracy, right? That agreement between two or more people to commit an illegal act, or even complicity, oh, go ahead and do it. Well, Alex, go ahead and kill those kids. They have the dark spirits in them. Yeah. Well, so that was the big one. And then obviously Chad Daybell, he's going to go to trial early April of next year. It's going to be interesting. And, he didn't get what he wanted for Christmas. He wanted the death penalty thrown out, because his attorney kind of did what everybody did or wanted to do, which is have their cake and eat it too. Don't get me wrong. Attorneys do that. Oftentimes they overreach and it winds up biting them in the butt instead of doing the practical thing. Chad Daybell and his attorney made a wrong tactical move, in my humble opinion, but I get it. Your client's facing the death penalty, and you say, hey, they haven't turned over stuff that we need to do. I need to be obviously aware of what's in the case. It could be exculpatory. How is this going to affect them? I need more time, Judge. That's kind of the perfunctory thing that the defense counsel will do, particularly when they don't want this case to go to trial. They want to delay. Well, Lori Vallow's like, I'm not delaying anything. Let's bring it on. And the judge is like, well, prosecutors, you didn't turn over all these thousands of pages of documents. You knew you should have done that. You had a duty to do that. You didn't do it. So Judge Boyce spanked the prosecution and frankly probably saved Lori Vallow's life. The prosecution did through their own malfeasance. And so she'll spend the rest of her life in prison, whether in Idaho or possibly in Arizona, where she has new charges pending as it relates to the death of her ex-husband, Charles Vallow. So she's got that. Like I said, so Chad Daybell makes the wrong decision. He wanted his cake and eat it too. Well, I want the continuance. I want to see what they have. But now, Judge, you should dismiss the death penalty because he, Chad Daybell, wants his cake and eat it too. And it doesn't quite work out that way for him. The judge denied that motion, saying, nope, you chose what you wanted. You chose a continuance. You could have probably had the death penalty dismissed had you gone to trial, but you wanted severance from Lori Vallow. And so you got what you wanted. You got your continuance, and now you get the death penalty. And the judge is like, I am not going to, strike the death penalty because that was a sanction against the prosecution. There's no sanction. See, that's the thing that people don't often realize is that, when you're asking for a sanction like a discovery review, the remedy is to keep it out if it's going to prejudice you. For example, you want to go to trial. But if you don't want to, you want to avoid that prejudice by a continuance, which you ask for and which you get, what's the harm at that point? And the judge's job is not to decide what is fair. Chad Daybell made specific arguments as it relates to whether the prosecution should be able to argue as it relates to their closing. I mean, in their closing, and their case in chief was Lori Vallow. It was Lori Vallow, evil, evil, evil. And Chad Daybell's like, well, look, they shouldn't be allowed to change their theory as it relates to Chad Daybell because they said in the previous case, it was all Lori. She was the master manipulator. And I get that. But it's a different case. Same facts. You can argue reasonable inferences from that. So I don't think they're going to do it. Obviously the judge ruled against the defense in that particular way. And he didn't. I think that was the correct decision. Whenever you have co-defendants, you want to point the finger at the co-defendant. I still think it's better for Chad Daybell not to be with Lori Vallow at trial. But frankly, I think, one of the things you had to consider with Lori Vallow is she just appears so unlikable, so non-remorseful. She was not a great defendant sitting there at trial. She didn't want to sit there during the photos of her children. I think the judge is like, oh no, have a seat. You're staying there. And the juries, they hear about that stuff. They're not, they hear about that stuff. She's just not likable. And it's her children and she didn't protect them, those kind of things. Now, Chad's theory is going to be, obviously I haven't consulted with Chad or his attorney, Mr. Pryor, but let's face it, what they're really going to do is say, he was the victim. He had no idea what was going on. Sure, he met Lori Vallow. He's in a marriage with Tammy for whatever reason. He meets her. She rocks his world. She thinks he's a rock star. He's writing these books, end of days type of stuff. And all of a sudden he is getting with her. And they have this great bond. Right? Remember previous marriages and all that nonsense and portals and 140,000 people or 250,000 people they're going to collect before the end times and all that stuff. Whatever. Okay. General rule of thumb, the world's coming to an end. I'm sure it will someday, but I think nobody has any idea when it will actually take place. Usually a sign of a big, big scam. So anyway, so that's going to be his defense. He's going to say, man, I didn't know what happened to those kids. I mean, maybe I found out later on. At the most, I'm maybe guilty of kind of an accessory after the fact. Maybe you submit a lesser non-included charge for the jury to consider. Okay, I found out later, but it was all Alex, and I had no idea, man. I'm just a little book writer. I write novels for a living, and I met this Lori, turned my world upside down. I mean, I was a straight and narrow guy, and she came in and she messed up everything like she did everywhere she ever went. The woman is a black widow. She is a horrible human being, as evidenced by her conviction, possible homicide, that she's entitled to the presumption of innocence in Arizona. And, I mean, that's going to be the defense. I didn't know. I had no idea. And if I knew, it was afterwards, but I had no idea in the actual deaths of my wife or my children. Now, of course, he's got some bad facts on his side. The whole running off to Hawaii, getting married, buying the wedding ring, just, I know she did it, but, he was in on it, right? Before your wife dies of mysterious causes, unexpectedly, for a relatively healthy woman, right? So yeah, it's, I think she was trained for a marathon or run marathons, all that good stuff. So yeah. So, busy couple years in Idaho, that's for sure. So yeah, Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, next year is going to be a busy year in Idaho as well, because we have to see the trial. And the beautiful thing is we're going to be able to bring you the trial because the judge will be allowing viewing of that. So good, open. Transparency in the courts is a good thing. We mentioned this briefly yesterday. I just got another email on it this morning about this nonsense we have here in the state, where the legislature passed this ridiculous law saying you can't have access to a case if there's a minor victim in it. Okay, I get that. This makes sense, right? Protecting the kids. Okay, seems reasonable. But the computer people at the state are like, well, we don't know which case. It's not identified. We can't fix that. So we're just going to limit complete and total access to all court cases, criminal court cases. So what I would be able to go in and access anytime beforehand. Let's say I want to consult with a client, and I want to see before the meeting what the charges are. What's the status of the case? Minors. Nope, can't get it anymore. Can't get it anymore. What if I have an investigator who needs to track down all that stuff? Basically, you have to do a request that what you could do yourself now is the state's going to charge you to go through the file and redact anything that's on there. It's a public courtroom. You don't have any privacy when it goes to a public courtroom. Okay? But that's what makes it an open and transparent society. That's a good thing, ladies and gentlemen. What if your son or daughter was charged and you wanted to see the proceedings? What's taking place? What took place at that last minute order? You used to be able to access it online. You used to be able to go down, pull the file, get the minute order. Not anymore. Because somebody in the legislature said, I got an idea. Let's pass this law that, well, and so why not make it instead of children, how about anyone between, I don't know, maybe at-risk adults as well. So anything over 60, they can't do that. We need to protect their privacy. I don't get it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And some days I wonder, and I hate to say it, but the last, I don't know, probably 8 months, and I hate to say this because I truly believe that the criminal justice system in America is it's good. It really is. It's good. But in the last 8 months, I don't know why. I just and I've taken a lot of gut punches over the years. I've lost lots of motions where I thought I should have won them. And you think, that's okay. The system works. It's going to work out okay. And there's just some stuff that you see going on lately, and even some, cases we have where you're just like, man, this is just, I don't know. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe I should just come on every day from 9 to noon or 12 to 3 and just do a daily show, and we wouldn't have to practice law. Because some days I'm really questioning the criminal justice system, and I never have done that before. I used to always say, it's the American judicial system, it's absolutely terrible, but it's better than anywhere else in the world. And I do truly believe that it is a good system. Could there be some tweaks in it? Yes. But it just seems like lately that I don't know. I've never experienced this, and I think we talked about this last Tuesday when we went when we were doing our live show. Is it's like, man, am I becoming that old curmudgeon-y guy? But I've asked other attorneys that I've known that have even done this longer than I have, just for perspective. And I'm like, is it just me, or does it seem like it is getting more and more difficult? Just everything, the court system, the bureaucracy that comes with everything, the inaction of district attorneys to be able to make a decision because nobody wants to be the person held accountable and to make a decision. And I thought, is it just me? And every attorney I've asked has said that it's just more and more difficult than it used to be. I opened my private practice. I got out of the Marine Corps, off of active duty in December of 1999. I opened my law practice officially January 1, 2000. So we're going to start our 24th year in private practice. And I'm telling you, it is a heck of a lot more difficult out there these days. The bureaucracy of the court system is just becoming overwhelming. It used to be you show up for court, you enter your plea not guilty, judge says file your motions by this date, everybody shows up at a motions hearings date, and maybe the case resolves, maybe it goes to trial, and that was it. Now you get these, even if it's a county court. I saw one of the attorneys had a DUI case, and they're like, look at this pretrial order. This pretrial order was like 3 pages long, which probably was going to create about 10 hours of work to comply with all this administrative crap, because the judge, I swear, they want to make it more difficult so that the attorneys try to resolve the cases, and make it as expensive as possible for the defendants. And I've always thought that I think it's true. What I really liked about the criminal side of the practice of law, which is what we do 95% of, is the fact that it moves. There's deadlines, speedy trial, etc. And in a civil case, it's a war of attrition. It's a war of attrition where they just keep going on and on and on and on. And it's really a question of who goes broke first, rather than are we trying to seek justice? And I was having this conversation just yesterday, like, if you want justice, the courthouse may not be the place you're looking for it, because you're not going to find it. You may not always get the results you want. Normally what you think is going to happen happens, but that's, yeah. So anyway, we got a bit of a little distracted there. Sorry. What's another big case that obviously has been going on this year? Well, Richard Allen. Who could forget the Delphi murder cases, right? We've been covering this case for years. We think there's a break. There's something's going to come about. And then the police finally arrest Richard Allen. And once again, we thought we were going to have a trial in October. Didn't happen. Why? The judge, or I take that back. I think it was going to be April. Now it's in October of 2024 because Judge Gull dismissed the counsels, something that I've never seen. Defense attorney get fired by the court because they thought that the counsel was engaging in reckless behavior and violating constitutional principles as it relates to the practice of law. I've never seen anything like it. Once again, that's not really the job for the judge to do. I mean, maybe if the attorney showed up completely intoxicated, high on drugs, I mean, we've seen that, where the judge will intervene, but never in the sense that, if somebody steals discovery from one of the attorneys, kind of an on again, off again employee that still has an ongoing relationship with him, goes into one of the Delphi attorney's offices and they chat, like, hey, what's going on? Right? You have an old employee show up, maybe an investigator comes by, chatting, hey, what's going on? I got this case. Oh man, look at the conference room. It's turned into a war room. And then the guy goes in, starts taking pictures of it and sends it out to people. I mean, sure, at the end of the day, is the attorney ultimately responsible? But is that, you kind of trust people to do the right thing, particularly past and kind of a present employee? You don't think they're going to go do something like that? A complete violation of the trust. And the judge was really quite upset about that. And what I think she really didn't like was the motion that they filed for the Franks hearing. We went through this a while back, as I have it here in my stack of stuff. And whether you think Richard Allen did it or not, I get it. A lot of people think he's the one. But throughout, whether you think it's an Odinite conspiracy, the defense team put a lot of work in their theory, their motion, basically a Frank's challenge as it relates to the arrest affidavit, saying it is factually impossible for a single person to do what was done. The judge didn't like that. Makes everybody look silly. Makes the police look silly. Leads were followed upon. I mean, for God's sakes, Richard Allen tells somebody years ago, hey, I was down there by the bridge during that time period. Talks to somebody, I think, in law enforcement. Yeah, you should probably go do it. He goes and self-reports, hey, I was in that area that day. Now, arrogance, maybe, perhaps. Wouldn't be the first time. Wouldn't be the first time that could potentially take place where somebody's cocky and arrogant. No, I'll go be the good guy. I'll go tell what's going on. And when they had something to do with it. He was near the scene. Fits the description. It probably looks like him walking down the road. Is that the one? I don't know. Is that the guy? We've seen the video. If you've seen the video, could be him. But the police, the FBI, the one that was helping do their database, they start to go through the case after 7 years of a cold case. And somewhere along the line, there's a report. Hey, this guy Richard Allen says he was in the area. Oh my God, he fits the description. But for some reason, some employee, the FBI that was running the database, doesn't put it in. So nobody sees it for years and years and years. So 7 years later, they get the warrant. They go by his house. They find a firearm in the house. And the police say that there was an unspent round at the crime scene, and it just happens to match the firearm that they believe was the one in possession of Richard Allen. He gets arrested. The attorneys get appointed. From what everybody could tell early on, the attorneys seem very competent. They had lots of experience. They dig into it. They come up with this theory. Whether a jury will believe it, I don't know for sure. But they put a lot of work into it. And when you go through those motions, and we read it, it's factually impossible for that crime scene to be staged in that amount of time and only one person have done it. Now, could that mean Richard Allen did it with other people? Possibly. There's always been that theory that there were more people. It's going to be interesting. But to get rid of a defense attorney because you don't like their theory, you don't like the fact that you're criticizing basically the courts and the police and the prosecutors. And, well, sometimes that's the way you got to do it. And the judge didn't like it. And then, the attorneys are basically, say, we're going to besmirch your good character here unless you withdraw. And so the attorneys are like, okay, I withdraw. And the court ultimately released the transcript. We read the transcript to you before. And like I said, I've never seen anything like that before in my life, where a judge is telling somebody, you need to withdraw. You need to withdraw. Now, I've seen attorneys show up and, they'll represent two co-defendants, and the judge would be like, not in my courtroom. Not in my courtroom. You got a conflict. You withdraw from both or one, but you're not doing both. I've seen that. And so it is a interesting case. Now, I think it's the 18th of next month, and we're going to put this on the calendar because guess what? The Indiana Supreme Court apparently believes in transparency, and we are going to get to watch the argument, which is somewhat contradictory to what Gullo was doing, was holding in chambers meetings, which is just as bad as what Judge Boyce did in the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case, where everything was done in chambers. I've never seen a case tried in chambers. Never, ladies and gentlemen. It's done in open court. I've argued issues even in Koberger. We're going to seal this because this involves grand jury issues. We've discussed grand jury issues. Guess what? You can impeach with grand jury transcripts and what people say in the grand jury transcripts in open court. There's no reason why any of that needs to not be known to the public. Sure, you don't identify the jurors. They don't get to ask that many questions anyway. Don't identify them in their signature blocks. It's very common when an indictment comes down, they're redacted. That's fine. But to think we must do this all in secret because it involved the grand jury. I mean, I hope in Chad Daybell's case, and not because I want him to necessarily win, I have no feeling one way or the other, really. But it's the fact that people can't get access to what should be public records. And I don't know why, but it seems like it's becoming a trend where more and more stuff is done in secrecy in the court system, and I do not like it. I do not like it, ladies and gentlemen, and nobody should like it. Yeah, big problem. And who could forget the other big story of the year? Going down the cold case being solved. How about old Rex Heuermann, right? The alleged Gilgo Beach murder. What's that? Right? Yeah, Gilgo Beach. Yeah. He's got some problems, right? Some, including his wife's hair is on some of the burlap bags that some of the victims, the Gilgo 4, referring to women whose bodies were found. We should have some more information after the first of the year on this as well, whether he's going to be charged with the fourth victim, not just the three. So, it's that's going to be a big case as well. Once again, DNA, just like the Koberger case, not direct DNA until they use the genealogical DNA. Hey, and what is it with pizza? All right, little, I guess, a professional practice pointer tip, right? Wasn't it pizza in the Koberger case that they tried? Was his dad's DNA or something like that? So, yeah. Pizza. Heuermann, yeah, maybe and then Heuermann, pizza. Why is it always pizza? I'm just going to, I think this is going to be a big problem for the pizza industry here in the future. No one's going to eat it, particularly all the criminals. I mean, you're going to have to, or eat the crust, I guess, is what it really comes down to. Eat the crust. So that's how they got Heuermann as well. And they apparently got phone records of him as well. They watched the guy for like over a year. And then like I said, we got some DNA issues as well. It's going to be interesting. And, I know lots of people, you can explain away, oh my gosh, yes. If they swabbed my table here, They'd probably find my DNA on it because I touched it. Probably Frank's DNA as well because he comes over here and helps set it up sometimes. Probably have the cleaning lady stuff over here too, from sweat, skin, hair, whatever. It could be here, and somebody picked up the K-bar to be sitting here, committing a terrible, crazy crime. Oh my gosh, who are they going to blame, right? Oh my gosh, we have Scott's DNA on the sheath of the K-bar here. Did he do it, or was it, incidental contact, or was there a reasonable way to explain how it got there? Well, sure. I mean, yeah, the knife is here. We use it for demonstrative purposes when we talk about that because, hey, I think we are the only true crime channel when we discussed the Brian Kohberger case. I think it was probably the only one that probably even knew what a K-bar was. Why? Because I've had this bad boy after I got out of boot camp in the summer of 1988, because every Marine has to have a K-bar to put on your web gear, right? When you walk around the field, everybody needs that, right? So when that case broke and the K-bar broke, what did I have to do? I had to go digging through old duffel bags of Marine Corps uniforms and another duffel bag for all my old field stuff. I don't know why I still have it. Probably because I knew one day it was going to come important to have the K-bar. So once again, another reason why I watch Crime Talk. We're the only channel that had a K-bar to be able to discuss when it comes down to Brian Kohberger. So something else to think about there as well. Okay. So DNA and human, a lot of people, even Kohberger, oh, it's easy how it got there. I'm telling you, as a criminal defense attorney, jurors believe that if DNA is there, they take it as that's it. It's valid unless the defense, and even though the defense never has to do anything, right? Remember, the defendant never has to prove himself innocent. Unless you can come up with a way to reasonably explain why the DNA is there, the jury's going to be like, oh, guilty. I mean, I've had cases where someone, let's just say, is accused of some sort of assault of a sexual nature. And, let's say that there is semen found in, let's say, after a rape kit. I mean, and the DNA comes back and they say the odds of it being someone other than the particular defendant in this particular case is 1 in 265 quadrillion, right? So there's another 1 in 265 quadrillion people chances that there could be some other person with the same DNA. You're kind of limited in there, right? So, if the client said, it wasn't me, I wasn't even there, obviously your client's lying, and that's the way the jury's going to look at it. Or if you say, yeah, of course my DNA would be there. We engaged in a consensual act. Of course it would be there. It was all consent. You have to be able to explain it away. Then it comes down to a swearing contest. Was it unlawful? Was it done with force? Or was it a completely consensual encounter and somebody changed their mind and said, no, this is buyer's remorse or something along those lines? But the jury will more than likely take that DNA at face value. Okay. Now, we do have a situation here in the great state of Colorado involving DNA. And it's an interesting case. And we could go off on kind of a tangent here, and maybe we will, because I think it's going to be a problem. Okay. And what I mean it's going to be a problem is it's going to be a problem for the government. And the reason being is that there is a situation here in Colorado where a lady that worked at the crime lab for the last 20 some odd years or so abruptly retires And then they had to send out what's the word I'm talking about? They had to send out a notice to everybody and said, hey, there may be some issues regarding some DNA. And maybe the person that performed it. Big problem, right? Remember that case in Boston years ago where the lab tech wasn't testing stuff, kind of snorting it her own way. Let me see if I think I found this case. It was hold on here really quick. Sorry about this. I'll continue to look for it. But it was a case involving DNA where basically they had the lab results retested, and the problem was they weren't accurate, even though the person that worked for the crime lab, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, was like, oh yeah, this is all good. This is all good. Don't worry about it. And it turned out to be wrong. They're basically fudging the numbers. And this particular individual was very involved as it relates to working on kind of cold cases, helping the people, the government, come to their conclusion. Now, I know a lot of people will argue that, well, they wouldn't do that. They're scientists. And I agree. Given the what's the word I'm looking for? You would think that scientists would do that. I mean, I used to believe that all along. They're scientists. They always tell you, we have no dog in this fight. We're just DNA experts. We're just the serology people. We just take us where the science leads us to. And I think I know I've mentioned this story before, and I know we have lots of people that probably the first time they've ever seen this is today. So I'll tell it again. Had a case involved DNA. It was a cold case. And we hired a DNA expert to take a look at the DNA. And our expert said, yeah, there's problems with the lab. There's some sort of cross-contamination going on here. It's just not right. We presented it at a hearing, blah, blah, blah. Make a long story short, the prosecutors, how dare you besmirch the good character of our lab that has all their certifications? How dare you even remotely suggest that our lab is not of the highest and utmost reputation and beyond reproach? How dare you? And of course, the judge looks at you like you have a third eye on your forehead and just kind of really, at most it sounds like maybe some cross-examination, but that's about it. And of course, they fight you on getting what the expert says. Well, I need this information, and the labs fight it. But if they're just doing the science, right? And you go to trial, it was a cold case, and there was a conviction. It was a bad cold case. And then you get a letter like 5 years after that. Hey, we did some audits, and maybe it looks like our compliance wasn't completely up to board. And guess what? Your case just happened to fall into that particular situation. This is worth reviewing. And you absolutely wonder, what do those district attorneys think? What is that judge going to think, right? Here we are, the defense attorneys. We're the ones that took the time, hired the experts, looked into it and said, you guys got a problem. And everybody just says, you don't have a problem. They start calling you names. You don't know what you're talking about. You're stupid. Your guy's no credibility. The guy's a freaking PhD, teaches everybody. And, and then they come back and be like, oh, sorry about that. Looks like you guys were right. And, yeah, you think we're right. And, there you go. I guess you could say, there you go. And, so, when those defense attorneys, come through and they say, hey, there may be something wrong, maybe listen to them. Okay. So here's even better. This is the letter that was sent out. This is an actual letter. And this is public information. This is actually somebody else's case, but it came up. It says, pursuant to our responsibilities under the Colorado Revised Statute 16-2.5502, subparagraph 2, subparagraph C, subparagraph II, I'm writing to inform you of information in the Colorado Bureau of Investigation's possession regarding former CBI forensic scientist Yvonne Missy Woods that may affect her credibility in court. Anomalies were recently discovered in a sample of Miss Woods' work product while reviewing cases and gathering data as part of an internal process. CBI is currently conducting an internal affairs investigation with the support of experts from the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. In addition, we are working to identify an outside state investigative agency to conduct a criminal investigation. You will receive an additional notification when the internal affairs investigation is completed. We are working to identify any outside state investigative agencies to conduct a criminal investigation. As part of this comprehensive investigation, we are meticulously reviewing Wood's work to identify the cases potentially impacted over the course of her 29-year career. I can assure you that we will continue to be completely transparent in the process regarding the cases that may be affected. We're working to finalize a response plan this week, including the critical step of compiling the list of cases Miss Woods may have worked on for our office during her tenure at the CBI. This plan will also involve prioritizing and retesting cases. We will continue to coordinate with you and your office as detailed information becomes available. We are aware that Miss Woods may have subpoenas for future court appearances. Our team will contact your agency directly regarding those. If you have any issues, please contact the Denver lab. Additionally, the CBI plans to disseminate a news release in the media to highlight this information. Okay. And obviously, Miss Woods is entitled to counsel. She's retained counsel. But clearly, if they're doing an internal investigation review of 29 years of cases that she's worked on, because apparently, all that statistical analysis stuff that, old big dummies like me don't understand. Wow, 1 in 265 quadrillion chances that it's the odds of being somebody other's DNA other than your clients. You're like, oh, wow, I better get an expert, take a look at that. And they tell you, that's statistics. It's not true. They're using a different statistic that they like. That's not the appropriate one. And like I said, so there you go. I mean, not everybody is always out for the good, ladies and gentlemen. When the scientists say, oh, we're just scientists, trust us. You can't always do that. And I know this particular witness, she has done continuing legal education. I've heard her say that she's part of the prosecution team. She considers herself part of the prosecution. No, the lab should be completely independent. Yeah, as Helen puts the comment, that could be a large number of cases. Yeah, she was the top person in the crime lab for DNA in Colorado for the last 29 years. She was there at the beginning. So I'm telling you, she's testified under investigation in hundreds of cases, and she's no longer on the job. That was part of the release that came out. That was back in November. 370 cases she's testified as an expert witness. And they're just starting to go through it. And of course, I'm sure they're going to drag their feet, because the reality of it is, and this is the problem, I've always said this is the problem. Who doesn't like good cops, right? Everybody likes good cops. We need police officers. Who doesn't like bad cops? Well, of course. Show of hands, raise your hand. Oh, I see all the hands going up. A show of hands that nobody likes bad cops. Well, who's the person in the best position to get rid of bad cops? District attorneys. They know who the guys are that are questionable. They can say, that's a bad stop. Hey, cop, you crossed the line. Don't do it again. I won't prosecute this case if it comes forward again. But what they do is they say, well, he's a cop. I got a lot of credibility with this judge, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to win anyway. So the prosecutors is that first line to say, other than the police themselves, say, hey, that dude's a bad cop. Let's get rid of him. Prosecutors, the next line of defense against bad cops. But they oftentimes say, hey, it doesn't matter. We like the cops. The defendant is a bag of trash. And this judge hasn't granted a motion to suppress filed by the defense in his 30 years on the bench. I don't think today's going to be the day he's going to start. And of course, the judge goes, well, that story seems a little suspect, but it's a swearing contest and he's a police officer. Did you notice he polished his little badge when he got up there on the stand? Showed up in his uniform with all his little badges and ribbons. Don't get me wrong, I get it. You've earned it. That's good. Be a good cop, but don't use it for credibility, right? We tell jurors all the time, you can't give any more weight or credibility to police officers than any other witness in the case. But yet, DAs and judges do it all the time. Want to stop bad cops? Well, stop letting bad cops get away with stuff. So, all right, a little bit of a sidetrack there. But I thought it was worth mentioning because I think that's going to be a big story. Because I think it's going to have nationwide implications. I think it's going to make everybody take a look at it and say, you know what? Who doesn't like science? But science is about replication, right? You have a theory, you test it, then you put your work out there to be checked and challenged, and maybe it comes back, you're right. It's beyond dispute. So yeah, I mean, that's the way it's supposed to work, right? Whole questioning stuff. But now these days you question it. How dare you question it? All right, I'm going to question it because I got an expert that says your stuff doesn't seem right. And when they come back 5 years later and say, ooh, sorry, you were right. Sorry about that, Scott. Sorry your client's been in prison for the last 5 years. Sorry, this could result in a new trial. And we should have listened to you, but we were too concerned about winning to do that. And how dare you question our crime people? They are scientists. They have no dog in this fight. Well, the alleged case of Missy Woods may say that some of these scientists are fudging their numbers to get the individuals that they want. And it's going to be very interesting because the last case that she worked on was a cold case where one of the guys was like, it's not me, DNA, cold case, it was brutal. Like the guy I remember this case from when I was a kid. Somebody went into a home through an open garage door. Somebody had left open at night and killed the family with a hammer from the garage. Guy got convicted in another case as well, but she worked on that case. Is that going to affect that case? Potentially. So I guess, what is the song? Was it Fleetwood Mac or something years ago, Frank? Maybe you know this because Frank's a very talented musician, but when the truth, one of the lines in it was when the truth is found to be a lie or something to that effect. It's lyrics, I think. Let me see if I can find that. It's like, what is it? What do you do? Somebody to love. When the truth is found to be lies and all the joy within you dies. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you want somebody to love? Wouldn't you want somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. Right? When the truth is found to be lies. I mean, what? I mean, remember that song was written back in the 60s, right? My parents' generation, Vietnam War going on, not a whole lot of trust of the government. And, when the truth is found to be lies, what does it do? All the joy within you dies, right? You think everything's perfect. We trust our institutions. We trust our scientists. And then you come to find out that they lie. They lie. Oh, Robbie knew it. Jefferson Airplane. Yep. And Ropescal as well. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of it, right? When you think that what you know and you believe is true and it turns out it's not. I mean, what does that do? It just kind of breaks your will to trust that institution, that particular person, right? Yeah. I mean, it's like, I remember telling my kids at one point when they were younger, my son, he was a big golfer, played golf from a young age, played in college, still plays golf to this day, loves it. He was in town. It was a little chilly, so we went over to this golf simulator place. It was fun. Right? And his hero growing up was Tiger Woods. Oh my God, Dad, he's Tiger Woods. He's probably one of the greatest golfers of all time. But remember, he's had a couple little incidents along the way. And I remember telling my kids, the problem with heroes is they always disappoint. They're humans, right? And they all make mistakes, and then they're going to fall off that pedestal that you have them on. And, kind of goes back to the, undeniable truths that we've talked about. There's two types of people in the world, those that are humble and those that are about to be. And I'm telling you, it is the most accurate description, best advice you can give to anybody. Pick somebody who's been at the top of the world. That always comes down. Right? I always give two stories with that. I remember, thinking you won a big case, had a great day in court. You're like, I'm the man. Yeah, this is great. And you go home and the wife is like, hey, that garbage needs to be taken out. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay. Back to reality, right? Another one, I remember I went in, won a homicide case. Second time I won a homicide case for this particular client. Feeling pretty good. I'm the man. Next day, new case, going over to argue for a bond reduction. It's denied. Client looks at me. He's like, man, what kind of attorney are you? You can't even win a bond reduction argument. Back to reality, right? Not that I was, being particularly cocky, but I was feeling pretty good about myself that day. And then you have to remember, it's just, here we go, back to reality, so to speak. So, yeah. Anyway, lots of cases. So although we were talking about kind of the big cases coming up next year and the ones that have kind of continued through this year, a little bit of a sidetrack, because I think that's going to be a story. Watch that. Of course, it'll be drug out. And, I'm sure, and if, we'll give Miss Woods the presumption of innocence, but use your common sense. If it was just a one-time error or it was like a close call and she did it, close enough. For her to have been relieved of her duties, whether she was asked to resign or went away, but for them to open up a criminal investigation it wasn't just it was not just a little rounding error when it came to the statistics. So yeah. See here in the comment, Jessica Miller. It's been nice watching the lives this week as I've been home recovering from surgery. Thanks, Scott. Well, Jessica, we hope it was a successful surgery and we wish you a speedy recovery. And hopefully we're able to provide some good information for you along the way to make your recovery a little more bearable, so to speak. Yeah, Jefferson Airplane. See, we have the smartest audience ever. Frank, was there a super chat up there that I didn't see? Sometimes I didn't scroll down far enough. Happy New Year, Scott. Just wanted to note for your curious viewers, there's likely a 3D scan of the entire Idaho house. Common practice nowadays. I totally agree. And yeah, they do this stuff where they put like this camera. It's like a big pole and it takes like a 360 scan. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But we've got them before. You need some software you have to download to do it. But yeah, that house it's probably one of the most documented and measured houses in the United States, if not the world. Oh yeah, that's a good one too. Tina, won't get fooled again. Who? That's right. That's why you got to take everybody with the old trust but verify. You can't. Pharaoh, that's it. Robbie, man, Robbie, you should go on Jeopardy, man. You're coming up with all the answers. Pharaoh Cam, you're absolutely correct. That's it. Let's see. Question. Going to talk to law enforcement if you've been in an area where a crime was committed. Question, Scott, is it a good idea to talk to law enforcement? You've been in an area where a crime was committed. I think if you are a witness to a case, certainly you have no legal duty to talk and corroborate, but maybe a moral, right? We talk about that all the time. What's your legal obligation? What's your moral obligation, right? When the police come and talk to you, morally, should you probably talk? Your parents told you, hey, I'm going to go harder on you if you lie to me. Tell me the truth. Did you take the cookie from the cookie jar? I took the cookie from the cookie jar, Mom and Dad. All right, well, you were honest with me. But so instead of being grounded for a week, I'm just going to send you to bed with no dessert tonight, right? You go and talk to the police. Are you supposed to do that? Not going to help you out. More than likely, you have a right to make them prove that you stole the cookie from the cookie jar. You have no obligation to help them in any way, other than morally, if you choose to do so. But then you come and you hire an attorney and you're going to be like, well, they didn't really have any evidence against you, but for the fact that you confessed. It's not like they found you there and you're accused of taking the powdered sugar and you had powdered sugar around your face. So there's no circumstantial evidence that you took the cookie, but you confessed to taking the cookie. So what would you like me to do with that? Are you telling me that you lied to the police when you took the cookie? Not a good story to tell the jury. Believe the person that lied about committing the crime, right? It's a statement against penal interest. You don't usually confess to crimes unless you actually did it. Something to think about. Robbie Jones, I cheat. Well, you should still go on Jeopardy, Robbie, because you're like 3 for 3 today. Scott, I meant like the Richard Allen. No, he had no duty to go back. I think his friend told him oh yeah, you should probably go document it. It's like I think it was a police officer or somebody in law enforcement. And like, yeah, you should go talk to, you should probably go tell him that. So crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. Let me go back here a little bit because, like I said, when things get weird, you want to talk about weird? There's this case in Kentucky. Talked about it kind of when we started the program. This guy, Zachary Jones, he's arrested after the police respond to a reported domestic violence on his home on Christmas Day. Now, Mr. Jones apparently answers the door and told authorities that the complaining witness / victim wasn't there. But once the police get there, and they were probably invited in by the defendant, Mr. Jones, they observe drugs in plain view. Now, plain view, right? He goes to search. You don't need a search warrant if the items are in plain view. Gotta investigate that. Gotta seize those drugs. So they arrest Mr. Jones, and I guess that's kind of like that song's Mr. Jones and Me. Anyway, so they take Mr. Jones to the police car, leaving the back seat. They go into the house to look for the girl, right? Exigent circumstances, perhaps. Do they need a warrant at that point? Well, they found some drugs. Who knows? But exigent circumstances. Maybe she's been injured. Maybe she's in a corner closet somewhere. I'm sure that the challenge will be that the police didn't have probable cause and they needed a warrant to go into the house in the first place. But what do they find in the house? They find a trap door hidden under a bedroom rug. They remove the rug. They open the trap door. What do they find? A missing 16-year-old girl from North Carolina. And apparently the victim that was in the trap door in the bedroom, hidden by a carpet, was apparently very high on drugs. I wonder how Mr. Jones got that 16-year-old girl to come back to his house. Runaway, perhaps? We don't know. She hasn't been identified yet. Apparently, the girl stated that Mr. Jones had taken her from North Carolina and brought her back to his home. She told the police that he had contacted her about 2 or 3 weeks prior and claimed that he was only 19 years old. When he arrived at her home, he looked older, and he admitted that he lied about his age. He then lied again, saying he was 25. Yeah, how old was Mr. Jones in reality? 34. 34. We have a picture of Mr. Jones we can put up there, Frank. Sorry about that. I know you were looking at something else. Here's Mr. Jones. Do you think he looks 19? Or we'll put him up. Hold on, we'll put him up. So this guy drives from Kentucky to North Carolina, meets a girl, supposedly online, right? Comes to her house, going to meet. He says, oh, yeah, I'm originally 19. Well, really, I'm not 19. I just, I grow a lot of facial hair. I'm 25. He's 34. Okay. 34-year-old dude looking to hook up with a 16-year-old girl. Not normal, ladies and gentlemen. Not normal. Clearly 16-year-old girl. She's not prepubescent, so it doesn't fit that definition of pedophile, but it's clearly pushing the age appropriateness, that's for sure. And then to lock her in a trap door. Yeah, I think that's called kidnapping, isn't it? Yeah, so we're going to probably be following this case as well. But, this kind of stuff happens every day. Would you let your daughter leave with that guy? I'm not saying the parents did anything wrong, but, hey, this is my new love of my life, Dad. I'd be like, really? Let's check this guy out. What's your full name? And I'm going to go to that CrimeTalkSearch.com website and sign up for that background subscription service. So if there's somebody new coming in, not only into my life or maybe my kid's life, I'm going to check them out. Is what he's saying is true? Is he 19? Is he 25? Oh, he's 34. Does he have a criminal history? Yeah. Probably want to check that out. Does the guy have, I don't know, a criminal history, arrest records? Is he a sex offender? Does he have to register as a sex offender? Well, you can find out all of that if you go and you sign up for that background subscription service at CrimeTalkSearch.com. I'm telling you, you'll be happy you did. We use that all the time here in the office. We don't promote stuff that we don't use ourselves. And yes, Sometimes we have to hire a private investigator to go do stuff, but I'm telling you, it is a good start. And sometimes I've even had it come up where we have more information based upon our search there back at crimetalksearch.com than the private investigator can come up with. Searching all those public records out there. So we'll have to see what happens to Mr. Jones here in the future. But I don't think Mr. Jones is going to like what is going to happen there in the future either. Let's see here. And I just got some breaking news on something here. Oh, here we go. Here it is. More Lori Vallow news. Yeah. More Lori Vallow news. Apparently, she's on trial for the death of her ex-husband down in Maricopa County. And hold on, it's not loading here. Let me try it again. And as you may recall, the prosecutors filed a motion previously, and Lori Vallow, once again, being as crazy like a fox, she I got a weird yellow screen. That's weird. Very odd. Oh, yeah. I hate all those damn pop-ups. Hate them. All right. So apparently the prosecutors in the Maricopa County case are asking the judge for more time to bring her to trial because they want the case declared complex. She is set to face trial on April 1st. I think they're back. Lori's husband says prosecutors in Maricopa County say that many of the same witnesses who will testify. Oh my gosh. Who said this? Who said this? Oh my God, Frank. God, do we have that? Oh my God. Weeks ago when this whole thing came up, we have a whole video on why Lori Vallow wouldn't want to, she should demand and exercise her right to a speedy trial. And I said her best shot of winning is she needs to go the exact same time to trial as Chad Daybell, because they're going to be relying upon the same witnesses. Prediction comes true. You're welcome. And did we mention we're the only guy that has a K-bar? Only true crime guy that has a K-bar? Yeah. And my prediction came true. Oh my gosh. It's almost like I know what the heck I'm talking about. Oh my God. The Americans say that many of the same witnesses who will testify and victims who will be present are the same in both Chad's trial in Idaho and Lori's trial in Arizona. And I said, man, only chance she's got is saying, I want to go to trial, speedy trial. The expense, the confusion. Arizona prosecutors brought their charges against Lori Vallow, 2 counts of conspiracy to commit murder. Vallow is accused of conspiring with her brother, who is now deceased, to kill her former husband, Charles Vallow, and attempting to kill her niece's then husband, Brandon Boudreau. Boom. Frank, we're going to have to chop that one up. Prediction. Scott's analysis weeks ago.
This has been April.
Weeks ago. Truth comes out today. Magic 8 Ball. Is Scott Reich the smartest YouTuber criminal defense attorney ever? And Magic 8 Ball is stuck, but it says, I can't read it. Very doubtful. That's all right. That's all right. We know. We called it. We called it. That's right. There it is. Who called it? Put this comment up here. Apparently Magic 8 Ball. See? Who said it first? That's right. This guy. What did I say about being humble? Those that are going to be humble, those are about to be. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I called it. I said this was going to be an issue. It goes off into the internet world. I'm feeling, yeah, I called it. Is Scott Reich the greatest YouTuber attorney ever? And the Magic 8 Ball humbled me and said, very doubtful. And yes, I have a thick enough skin, and we don't take ourselves too seriously here, because I could have lied and said undoubtedly or whatever the response could have been. But I told the truth. I have no reason to lie, right? That's right. The amazing Karnak. Oh, there you go. I called it. I predicted it. That is it is interesting, isn't it? That is interesting. Let's see if I can actually see if I can get the actual motion. Oh, here it is. Yep. Frank, the hardest working man in show business. Who has it? Who sent it to me? Frank. Let's see here if I can get this. Arizona revised statute section 13-1003 subparagraph D provides that conspiracy to commit a class 1 felony is punishable by sentence of life without the possibility of release on any basis until the service of 25 years. Otherwise, conspiracy is an offense of the same class as the most serious offense, which is the object of the result of the conspiracy. And then they cite Rule 8.2 of the Arizona Criminal Code, provides that a defendant must be tried within 270 days after the arraignment when a defendant is charged with first-degree murder. Then they cite the Maricopa County Superior Court Administrative Order 21-127 that indicates that all first-degree murder cases will be automatically designated as complex by court administration at the time of arraignment, pursuant to 8.2. And since the defendant here is charged in both cases with conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and class 1 dangerous offense, Rule 8 provides that the defendant must be tried within 270 days from her arraignment. The court may extend a defendant's last day under Maricopa County Superior Court Administrative Order 21-127, which authorizes this court to designate any case as complex if this court finds sufficient facts to support that designation. The order lists 12 non-inclusive factors for the court to consider in determining whether to designate a case complex. These factors are the source of evidence from the inception of wire, electronic, or oral communications, the number of defendants, the number of counts, the number of charges, the number of witnesses/victims called expert witnesses, number of testimony, etc., out-of-town witnesses. The number of exhibits, defendants pro se status, complex legal issues, timing of the motion to designate the case complex, and in case blah, 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 and case blah, 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 the defendant is charged in each matter with one count of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, class 1 dangerous felony. Although the cases were initially investigated by local police, some of the evidence arises from investigations completed by the FBI and the Rexburg Police Department in Idaho. The state will be required to call out-of-state witnesses to testify in both cases. In the one case, there are multiple experts, including a medical examiner, firearms expert, and a cell phone analyst. In the other case, the state will call a gunshot residue expert, an FBI cell phone cast analyst expert, as well as a DNA expert. In addition to the expert witnesses, each of these cases involve multiple police officers, civilian witnesses, and victims. The state has approximately 20 terabytes of evidence to disclose. The defendant is already serving a sentence of life without the possibility of release in the case that resulted in a conviction in Idaho. There's no prejudice to the defendant by designating these cases as complex and setting the last day in each case pursuant to Rule 8.2 to 270 days from arraignment. Vallow's husband and co-defendant in the Idaho case is scheduled to begin its trial in April of 2024. The trial for the co-defendant in Idaho is predicted to last until the end of May of 2024. The statutory victims of this case planned on attending both the Idaho and Arizona trials. Additionally, the surviving victims in the other case will likely be called to testify in the trial to be conducted in Idaho and will need to testify in the trial in Arizona. Referring specifically to Kay Woodcock, who is the sibling of the deceased Charles Vallow, and Larry Woodcock are the grandparents of the deceased victim, J.J. Vallow, in the Idaho case. And Brandon Boudreau was called to testify in the Idaho case as well. The Constitution of the State of Arizona, Section 2.1, Victims' Bill of Rights, states, to preserve and protect the victim's rights to justice and due process, a victim of crime has a right to, 1, to be treated with fairness, respect, and dignity, and to be free from intimidation, harassment, or abuse throughout the criminal justice process. The statutory victims in the case wish to assert their victims' rights in both Idaho and Arizona. The surviving victims in the other case is asserting his victim's rights to be present for his trial in Arizona. The Idaho case against Chad Daybell is older and is ready to proceed on April 1st. Trial in the 2 Arizona cases set for April 4th of 2024. The statutory victims should not be required to pick whether they attend the murder trial of their grandson or the murder trial of their brother. For all the foregoing reasons, the state respectfully requests that each of these cases be designated complex and a new last day be calculated for both cases. A proposed order is filed in conjunction with the motion. All right, there you go. Yeah. Interesting. Now, I think what the judge will do is grant that. No doubt in my mind, the court is going to grant that. There really is no prejudice to Lori Vallow. It's not like she's going anywhere. She is going to spend the rest of her life in prison. But I'm sure the defense will object to it and say, Judge, I could go try this case tomorrow. This is nothing complex. Sure, there's 4 terabytes, but it's all related to Idaho. It has nothing to do with anything here. Let's go try this case. If I was her attorney, that's the argument that I would be making at that point. Let's see here. So funny in this part. Let's see. 4 of evidence t-shirts and 20. 4 of 4 be evidence. Other crimes, other wrongs, or misconduct. All right, we'll work on that. That's funny. See, we have some of the best people. Seriously. Let's see here. So yeah, I mean, think Lori Vallow? Maybe ask the Magic 8 Ball. Lori Vallow. Actually, real quick. Magic 8 Ball, is Scott Reich the best true crime YouTuber and smartest criminal defense attorney in the world? It's not coming up. Did we already break the Magic 8 Ball? Oh, this one says it's decidedly so. 2 out of 3? No, just kidding. Hey, Magic 8 Ball, do you think Lori Vallow's trial is going to go in April of 2024? Magic 8 Ball, don't count on it. So, you never know. Magic 8 Ball. When in doubt, always grab a Magic 8 Ball. It will tell you everything you need to know about the world. Now, here's another case. I mean, just to show you, ladies and gentlemen, never a dull moment. What is it with people harming their children? I don't get it. Now, this is just developing. So, a Colorado woman by the name of Kimberly Singler lives in Colorado Springs, or did, is apparently wanted on an arrest warrant alleging murder, attempted murder, and child abuse. Now, the situation is alleged that the Colorado Springs police responded to a 911 call of a burglary in progress at about 12:30 a.m. on December 19th. When the police arrived, they found the bodies of Singler's 9-year-old daughter and 7-year-old son, according to statements by the police. Singler was found injured along with her 11-year-old daughter. They were obviously taken to the hospital for treatment. But the city has now put out call for a burglary in progress, it was unfounded. Unfounded. Well, needless to say, Miss Singler hasn't been seen since December 24th. They issued an arrest warrant on December 26th. FBI is involved. Maybe she fled across state lines. Who knows? That's going to be one we're going to have to follow. You report a burglary, the police come in, you're injured, your other daughter's injured, and 2 of your children are dead. And for whatever reason, gosh, well, I can't remember her name now. The one down in Colorado Springs. Gosh, Letitia Stout. I was having a brain freeze. Colorado Springs. Similarities? Not really sure. Not really sure. Not really sure, but come on, kids. The kids, man. You know, I mean, there's so many people out there that are dying to have kids. Good people that are dying to have kids. If you don't want your kids, don't get me wrong, there's bad days with kids, like anything. It's like your job. Some days you have good days, you have bad days. But your kids are going to usually bring you more good days than bad. But there are lots of people that would take kids. Don't harm them. Let's see here. Helen, the Scottish llama. People harming their children is horrendous. People harming their special needs child is even more horrendous. But in most cases with special needs kids, it's just tragic from the lack of support. Yep. Oh, and Jean? She says we've got to follow this for sure. Yeah, this is getting good, right? I mean, it's just it's just not good. I've said this before and I will say it again. A society is judged on how the society protects and treats their women and children. And that's not some sort of sexist thing, but it's about common decency. Question here. You think we'll hear anything about what happened to Suzanne Morphew anytime soon? Carly, I'm not sure. I don't think so. I mean, the reality of it is that district attorney's office is in such complete shambles. The prosecution completely bungled that case. And I blame the prosecutor, Miss Stanley. You know, she's got her own issues going on. We brought you a story, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, about how the judges are basically had enough of the incompetence in the office that Miss Stanley was running, the same office that Barry Morphy was being prosecuted out of. She has her own ethics complaints pending, and I don't know what will happen, but I don't think it's going to be good for Miss Stanley. I mean, I don't know what her responses to them are, but the reality of it is that if the allegations is reported to be true, are not good for her. Not good. We'll see how the process wears out. I assure you, nobody likes getting a letter from, something that says attorney regulation on it. The pucker factor goes up a little bit. You're like, oh my God. And unfortunately, it's just a reality of life when it comes to the law profession these days. It's getting harder and harder, ladies and gentlemen. It is getting so much more difficult to practice law. And I don't want to, like I said, not sound like an old curmudgeon. I'm just telling you, it's getting harder and harder. Everything about it is just getting harder and harder. Let me see. I wanted to talk about this really quick. Give me 1 second here, because I think it's kind of a good summary of the year. Oh my goodness. Let's see. I want to find it here. It's the 12 undeniable truths of life from a criminal defense attorney. I thought I had it handy here. Thought I did. Let me go back here one more. Let me take a look. Where did those pictures come from? I don't think something's been updated on that one. Let me find it real quick. Because it's something to think about, and it's true. I really do believe it's true. And, I tried to basically trying to explain it, right? Let's go through these really quick. In no particular order, but I still think this is the number one of the undeniable truths. We'll go in ascending, not descending order. But number one, be humble, right? You saw it. Remember, I was feeling pretty good about myself. Yeah, this is great. I called it. Yeah. Then I asked the magic 8 ball, humbled, just like that. 2 types of people in the world, those that are humble and those that are about to be, right? Remember, no one is perfect. I'm certainly not. We are all flawed human beings. And, one of the things that we talk about, and mention, this is kind of where the 12 undeniable truths have come from. My office employees used to refer to it as like a Reichism or something along those lines. But the reality of it is really, as a criminal defense attorney, you are on the front lines when somebody is probably at their worst moment in their life. They think the world is coming to an end, and it's really a study in human nature. You get to see how people respond, right? How do they respond at the worst moment in their life? Are they nice to people? Do they become a complete jerk? I get it. Clients get stressed out. They yell, blah, blah, blah. And they take it out on the person closest to them, which is usually the attorney. Remember, no one's perfect. We're all flawed individuals, right? Which goes to the next one. We are all flawed. Remember that. No one's perfect. Don't be so judgmental. Don't get me wrong. Some days if judging other people was an Olympic sport, I would be a gold medalist, okay? But I try not to. Sometimes it's hard. Let's face it, it's hard. But try not to be too judgmental. And remember, we are all hypocrites. We are. It's just a matter of degree. This should probably be number 2, but they're in no particular order. It's always about the money. It's always about the money, ladies and gentlemen. And when they say it's not about the money, then it's really about the money. Everybody wants to get ahead in life. How are they going to do it? They're going to do it honestly? They're going to do it fraudulently? It comes down to that. It's always about the money. People will tell you, well, it's not about the money. Yeah, it is. It always is. Okay. You need to take care of yourself, right? You need to take care of yourself, eat well, exercise. You need to do that. You don't take care of yourself, man, you can't handle life, the stresses that come with life. It's just good sense. Everybody knows that. Most people don't have troubles. They have inconveniences, right? Think about it. Do you have real troubles? I get it wrong. If you got maybe a medical issue, maybe you're going to prison. Maybe you're looking to go into prison. That's a problem, right? That's real troubles. And some days I would get in trouble. Some days I would get in trouble because I'd be like, oh, how come you're not focusing on this particular issue? I can tell you the example. I remember once I got home. This wasn't with the lovely Miss Kristen because she takes such good care of me. But let's just say, the ex-wife, who was fortunate, she stayed home. She raised the kids. I get that. And one day I come home and she's all upset with me. I'm like, what the hell did I do? It's not what I didn't do or did do is what I didn't do. The lawn guy was coming, and I didn't pick up the dog poop in the lawn. And it seemed to be quite a great stir because the lawn guy didn't want to mow the lawn because he could get dog poop on his tire of his lawnmower or something. And, I was like, well, okay, sorry, I'll try to do better next time, right? Why didn't the lawn guy pick it up and charge me for it? Even better yet, maybe why didn't you pick it up? You got 2 broken legs, right? 2 broken arms. You can't pick it up? Whatever. But the gist of it was like, really? This is the life that you live, and the greatest concern that you have that you want to be upset with me about is this? And not to say that that's not important. I get it. I should have picked up the dog poop. But it's like, when you're coming from a situation where people are going to prison, it's a death penalty case, all these other issues. And like, this is what I come home to. We're arguing about dog poop. Right? That is an inconvenience. That is an inconvenience, not a real problem. And a lot of people turn little inconveniences into problems. Next, make a decision. That is so important, right? And particularly as we come here at the first of the year, make a decision, right? You don't like your job. You don't like what you're doing. You want to have a better life. Well, go do something. What are you doing about it, right? Taking care of yourself. I'm going to get back on it. Start running again. Okay. Why? Because I want to lose 25 pounds. Okay, I can sit there and think about it all day long, but what are you going to do about it? You got to make decisions, right? One of the most difficult things I can tell you as a criminal defense attorney is getting a client to make a decision, because most of the time it has to be their decision. I make all the tactical decisions, all the motions to write, all that kind of stuff. That's what lawyers do. But at the end of the day, when the plea bargain is presented and you say, hey, you've got a choice. You have to make a choice. Do you want to go to trial, or do you want to accept a plea bargain? And they say, well, I don't want to plead guilty, but I don't want to go to trial either. Well, that's not a decision, not an option. And if you can't make those decisions in life, people will make them for you. Now, yes, when your kids are young, you're going to make their decisions for them. Do you want to eat the chocolate for dinner, or are you going to eat your vegetables? The parents say, we're going to eat the vegetables. But in life, if you won't make that decision, you can't decide, well, gee, I don't know. Too big a decision. What do you think I should do? Well, I can't make that decision. Well, what do you recommend? I recommend you do option A, take the deal. Well, but I don't want to plead guilty. Then don't. I don't think I'm guilty. Then fine, let's go to trial. But if you don't make that decision, there's a deadline. If you don't accept it by this date, the offer goes away. That kind of situation. So remember, you gotta make the deal. And remember, as always, the job expands the amount of time given. If you give somebody, well, you don't have to make a decision for 3 months. Guess what? They're not going to make that decision until 2 months and 29 days, 30 days. All right. But you have to do that because it always takes longer than you expect it will. I'm sorry. Yep, those words. You cannot believe how far the words "I'm sorry" can take somebody. The powerful effect that the words of "I'm sorry." I have been in court. I have been in sentencing hearings where the victims have shown up for every court appearance, and whether it's been at the end of a trial, a sentencing, or there's a plea bargain, and then the defendant will say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And that's all the other side maybe wanted to hear. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to bring somebody back. The words, I'm sorry, because people can forgive when the other party says, I'm sorry, I messed up. I'll do better. I'll pick up the dog poop the next time. I'll get up early that day when I know they're coming. Okay. Saves a lot of arguments sometimes too. So just remember that. And then the next one, trust your lawyer, right? What is the common joke? If you're in business and life, you need a couple of people. You need an accountant and you need a lawyer, and you need to trust them. You hired them because you can trust them. I always have to explain to my clients. And I said, hey, I've got a couple of kids. I love them dearly. Sometimes I didn't want to tell them the best news. Like, no, you're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to have chocolate cake for dinner. We got to eat our vegetables. That's what parents do, right? You're going to have to go out and play a sport. You're going to have to exercise. You're going to have to go to school. You're going to have to go to college, etc. Those things. It's just advice. Who here, and I don't expect to see a lot of hands, who here would intentionally give their children bad advice? Yeah, see, I don't see any hands going up. Because you wouldn't. As a parent, you want your kids to have the most opportunities more opportunities than you will ever have. The most of life. The opportunity to succeed, to have a better life than you had and that you were even able to provide to them. Hopefully they can do better and provide even a better life to their children. But you would not give them bad advice intentionally. And neither is your lawyer. Neither is your lawyer going to give you bad advice intentionally. They're not going to do it. So trust your lawyer. Remember, if it's important to you, you'll figure out a way to make it happen. If it's not important to you, you'll just simply find an excuse, right? If you want to stop, bad habits, drinking, doing drugs, if it's important to you, you'll figure out a way. Sometimes you got to hit your bottom. You want to go to the gym. If it's important to you, you're going to figure out a way to make it happen. It's that simple. If it's important to you, you will find a way to do it. If it's not, you will come up with an excuse. Right? Just the way it is. It's true. And I see that all the time. I always have clients that, man, when they're in custody, they call you every day on the calendar. Every day. What's going on with my case, man? Anything going on? They get out of custody. All their burdens have been lifted. You can't find him. You never heard from him again other than court. Then you show up and say, Judge, I need to continue the case because my client, we haven't had communication. Need to set it over, talk about what's going on. Okay, continuance. The point being, that case is no longer important to him because it's not affecting his freedom. If it was important to him, he'd be calling me. Now, I don't need to call every day. We communicate with our clients, but I would give him a call and say, here it is. If it's important to you, you'll find a way to do it. And all relationships are based upon respect. Don't care what it is, whether it's your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your coworker. It's about respect. Okay? And throughout my career, I have literally gone from meetings where I was representing a very successful individual. He's a billionaire or pretty darn close to it. And then you say, oh, that's great, but I need to go. And then you go, the court says, hey, I'm going to appoint you to represent this client. And you find out he's got a second grade education. Came here to the United States, doesn't speak English, has no real skills. Right. And you go in there and you talk down to them. You treat them with respect and dignity like everybody. Right? What's the best thing about a good judge? Treats everybody with dignity and respect in his courtroom. How can you tell a judge is going to be a jerk? He treats somebody in there, whether it's even the prosecutor, if he doesn't like them, or the defense attorney or the client, with complete disrespect. Every relationship is based upon respect. And if you don't have respect for that other person, well, guess what? You're probably not going to get it back to them. I try to respect everybody that I have to deal with. It's just part of the job. I may not like them, but I got to do what I got to do. So Treat them with respect. If you treat them with respect, you'll get it in the same, right? I've dealt with lots of people over the years. And if you treat them with respect, oftentimes when people didn't get along with their attorneys, they felt that they weren't being respected. Think about it. Think about one of those relationships when things didn't quite work out. Was there somebody on one way? Now, maybe they didn't deserve respect, but you want to at least try on a good note. I mean, I can usually get along with just about anybody, I think, because I try to treat them with respect. But if that relationship breaks down, then so be it. But at the end of the day, it comes down to respect. So, for whatever it's worth, the 12 undeniable truths of life from a criminal defense attorney. I think they're true. I think something to live by. Maybe pick and choose what you want. It is what it is. But the reality of it is it's respect. Background check only helps if the person gives you. That's true, Peggy. That's true. But if hopefully that person is willing to give you their real name, and if they're not, then be like, hey man, nothing personal, but I just checked you out a little bit. You don't appear anywhere in the world. Big red flag. Yes, we've said this before too, Sean. The other end of the truth, it's better to look guilty than to be found guilty. Ain't that the truth? We've said that many, many a time. Martin, trust an honest lawyer. I agree. Hopefully you find a good do that. Savannah Soto case. For some reason, that was not ringing a bell to me, Frank. I don't know. Soto case? Savannah Soto?
No.
Not ringing a bell. Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a case that you think we should be following, just send it to us. Send us a message. We'll check it out.
Oh, yeah. That's a pregnant. Yeah.
Oh, is that the one recently where
Yeah. She was found dead.
she was found dead, the kid was dead, and like the boyfriend's gone or something like that? Okay. Name didn't click, but I remember reading something about it. I think we had limited information, I think.
Yeah, that's why I haven't
had it hadn't been a whole lot of information, but we'll check it out. We'll look into the Savannah Soto case. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, can you believe we've been talking nearly 2 hours? Gone by fast. Gone by really fast. We should have plugged in more commercials, Frank. My fault. Anyway, it's coming to the end of the year. I think it was a good talk. Appreciate you taking the time to do so. We're just 2024. Can't believe it. I literally seems like yesterday. I mean, I was 1999. I was getting out of the military, driving across country, came back to Colorado, had to try and, promise my wife that if I want to I look for a job, and I was like, I just want to hang out my own shingle. Give me 60 days. If I can't make a living at it in 60 days, I'll go get a job working for somebody. 24 years ago, as of January 1, opened up my own practice. Met some interesting. January 1, 2000. That's when I opened. Yeah, 29 years. Yeah, from 95. Said 4 years on active duty. So yeah, it's goes by fast. Met some interesting people. Got to go to lots of interesting places because of cases, and bam, just like that, 24 years has gone by. Crazy how quickly it's gone. Started this 5 years ago. And not to toot our own horn, because you always want to be respectful, but I know a lot of people think it's easy, but it's not. But as of today, at this very moment, December 28th, our channel has had 63,277,000 views. 63 million views of people have watched That is humbling. Humbling. We're at 252,000 subscribers, which I know a lot of people are like, well, how come you don't have 1 million? I wish I had 1 million, man. I do. It is it's tougher than you can possibly imagine. Putting out stuff, and what you think works one day doesn't work the next. Great cases, interesting cases certainly help. It is great, and it's been a ride. I want to look at one more thing as well, because we started the podcast where it went up the same time we kind of started our channel, and as of today, since we've been doing this, downloads on our podcast, 1,905,984. 905,984. That's pretty good. It's pretty darn good. Particularly when you look at the statistics. If you get, 50 downloads or more on any podcast, you're like in the top 1% of all podcasts. So I wish it was more. I certainly wish it was, but we're doing our best, and hopefully we'll continue to put out content that people like in 2024. We appreciate all of you for being here. All of our subscribers, we know there's lots of things that could grab your attention. So the fact that you choose to stay here, we appreciate you tremendously. Judy, we need 1 million subscribers so Scott can retire from the law business. Yes. Tell all your friends. Tell them to subscribe. Even if they don't watch, just tell them to subscribe. It can't hurt. Eventually they'll watch it. But yeah, we would love to do that. We would love to do that full time. Just got to be able to justify stopping one. You always hate to not have multiple sources of income, but we appreciate it. So thank you all. Thank you for being subscribers. Thanks for joining us. Like I said, we appreciate you, whether you're a Patreon member, a member, a regular subscriber. We appreciate you. So have a wonderful, happy New Year, and we will see you after the first of the year. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next year on Crime Talk.